We look up at the night sky, and we see constellations, patterns in the stars. We name them, we tell stories about them. But the stars themselves? They don't care. They're just massive balls of burning gas, millions of miles away. But every so often, a star is born that shines so brightly, that burns so fiercely, that it captures the imagination of entire civilizations. In the constellation of human history, one such star was Julius Caesar. He never wore a crown, never called himself king. Yet, Julius Caesar ruled Rome with an authority that most kings would envy. He was a general, a politician, a writer, a lover, a legend. He was the embodiment of ambition, of ruthlessness, of genius. He was, in many ways, the architect of the Roman Empire, a force that would shape the course of Western civilization for centuries to come. But here's the thing about Caesar. He didn't inherit his power. He wasn't born into a royal family. He didn't seize control in a bloody coup. No, Caesar understood something fundamental about power, something that transcends time and place. He understood that true power doesn't come from titles or armies, but from the minds and hearts of the people. This is not just a dusty tale from the annals of history. This is a blueprint, a guide to understanding the nature of power, of influence, of how to bend the world to your will without ever needing to wear a crown. Today, we're going to dissect the mind of a master strategist to uncover the secrets of Julius Caesar's most dangerous power play. We're going to learn how he turned the Roman Republic into his own personal empire, and how you can apply the same principles to your own life, your own business, your own personal quest for greatness. Imagine, if you will, the Roman Republic in the 1st century BC. Not the gleaming marble metropolis of Hollywood epics, but a city teetering on the brink of chaos. A city riddled with corruption, where the Senate, meant to represent the people, had become a playground for the wealthy and ambitious. Where political assassinations were commonplace, and the streets ran red with the blood of rival gangs vying for control. The Roman Republic, once a beacon of democracy, had become a system so broken, so ethically bankrupt, that it was practically begging for a savior. The people, disillusioned and desperate, yearned for a leader who could restore order, who could bring back the glory days of Roman dominance. And into this maelstrom of decay and discontent walked a young, ambitious general named Gaius Julius Caesar. Now, Caesar wasn't some idealistic reformer, some naive do-gooder hoping to right the wrongs of the world. He was a pragmatist, a cunning strategist who understood that power, like a supernova, is often born from chaos. And he saw in the crumbling republic not a tragedy, but an opportunity. An opportunity to rewrite the rules of the game, to reshape the very fabric of Roman society in his own image. But even the most ambitious climber needs a foothold, a platform from which to launch their ascent. For Caesar, that platform was the Roman army. He was a brilliant military strategist, a charismatic leader who inspired fierce loyalty in his soldiers. He led them to victory after victory, conquering Gaul, repelling Germanic tribes, expanding the borders of the Republic, and amassing unimaginable wealth and prestige in the process. With every victory, Caesar's star rose higher, and the whispers of his name echoed louder through the streets of Rome. Now, picture this. Rome, a city obsessed with spectacle. Gladiatorial combat, chariot races, public executions. These were the reality shows of their day. And Caesar, a master showman in his own right, knew how to play to this audience. He understood that to truly capture the hearts and minds of the Roman people, he needed to go beyond mere military victories. He needed to create a spectacle that would resonate with their deepest desires, their primal need for entertainment and awe. So, Caesar staged lavish games and festivals, the likes of which Rome had never seen before. Exotic animals shipped from the farthest reaches of the empire, gladiators battling to the death, free food and wine flowing like rivers. Caesar spared no expense in his quest to win over the Roman mob. These weren't just celebrations. They were strategic displays of power, carefully orchestrated to cement Caesar's image as a generous benefactor, a man of the people who understood their needs and desires. But Caesar's generosity wasn't limited to bread and circuses. He understood that true power lay not just in entertaining the masses, but in improving their lives. He used his immense wealth to fund public works projects, building roads, aqueducts, and temples, creating jobs and improving the lives of ordinary Romans. These weren't just acts of charity. They were shrewd political maneuvers, designed to demonstrate Caesar's commitment to the people, to show that he was a leader who cared about their well-being. And the Roman people ate it up. They saw in Caesar a leader who not only entertained them, but also provided for them, a leader who understood their struggles and offered them hope. The more the Senate tried to discredit him, to paint him as a dangerous populist, the more the people rallied to his side. Caesar had successfully turned the tables, using the very system designed to control him to solidify his power base among the masses. He had become a force to be reckoned with, a man whose popularity made him practically untouchable. Think about it. In a world without internet, without television, without mass media, how do you build a loyal following? You do it the old-fashioned way, through direct engagement, through spectacle, through acts of genuine generosity that resonate with the people you seek to lead. Caesar understood this instinctively. He knew that true power wasn't about forcing people to obey. It was about making them to follow. He made himself accessible to the people, often seen strolling through the forum. Chopper for listening to their concerns, addressing their grievances. He cultivated an image of himself as a man of the people, a stark contrast to the aloof and often corrupt senators who looked down upon the masses. This wasn't just clever PR. It was a calculated strategy to build a power base that transcended the traditional levers of Roman politics. By winning over the hearts of the Roman people, Caesar effectively neutralized the power of the Senate. They could rail against him, they could denounce him as a demagogue, but they couldn't touch him without risking the wrath of the mob. Caesar had mastered the art of playing the crowd, of turning public opinion into an impenetrable shield against the machinations of his enemies. He had, in essence, created a new kind of power dynamic in Rome, one where the will of the people could trump the authority of the ruling class. This strategy, my friends, is as relevant today as it was 2,000 years ago. In a world saturated with information, with countless voices vying for our attention, the ability to connect with people on an emotional level, to understand their needs and aspirations, is more important than ever. Whether you're building a business, leading a team, or simply trying to make a difference in the world, remember the lesson of Julius Caesar: win the crowd, and you'll own the game. Friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears. We're not in Shakespearean territory just yet, but we're getting close. You see, Julius Caesar, that master strategist, knew something that holds true even today. The pen, or in his case, the chisel and hammer, can be mightier than the sword. Caesar understood that to truly control power, you need to control the narrative. It's not enough to win battles. You have to win hearts and minds. And how do you do that? You craft a story, a compelling narrative that justifies your actions and paints you in the most favorable light. This wasn't just clever politics. It was a stroke of genius. In a world without instant news and social media, controlling the flow of information was paramount. Caesar ensured that the stories people heard, the statues they saw, the monuments erected in his honor, all reinforced his image as a strong, decisive, and even divinely appointed leader. This wasn't just propaganda. It was the ancient Roman equivalent of a carefully curated public image. It's a reminder that even in the days of togas and gladiators, the battle for public opinion was waged with the same fervor as any military campaign. Caesar was a prolific writer himself, documenting his military campaigns in detailed commentaries. These weren't just dry military reports. They were crafted narratives meant for public consumption. He presented himself as a brilliant commander, a champion of the people, always victorious, always expanding the glory of Rome. He knew that these accounts would be read and reread, shaping the perception of his reign for generations to come. Talk about understanding your legacy. It's like leaving behind your own carefully curated Wikipedia page, ensuring that history remembers you favorably. And let's not forget the power of architecture and symbolism. The Forum of Caesar, with its grand temple dedicated to Venus Genitrix, Caesar's claimed ancestor, wasn't just a public space. It was a monument to his lineage and a constant reminder of his connection to the divine. These power plays weren't just about brute force. They were calculated moves in the game of perception. Caesar understood that true power lay not just in commanding legions, but in commanding the very narrative of his time. And that, my friends, is a lesson as relevant today as it was in ancient Rome. Friends, Romans, countrymen, lend me your ears. We've talked about how Julius Caesar, master strategist, used the people's love and his own narrative to climb the Roman ladder. Now imagine, you're at the top, poised to seize ultimate power. What do? You might think, bring on the crown. But Caesar, he was playing three-dimensional chess while everyone else was stuck on checkers. See, a crown, it's a symbol, right? Represents power, authority. But it can also be a shackle. It makes you a target. And Caesar, he understood optics better than a Roman charioteer navigating a hairpin turn. He knew accepting the crown would have painted a big, juicy target on his back, turning the very senators he charmed into enemies. So, what did he do? 3 times, he refused the crown. Publicly. Can you imagine the gasps? The whispers? This wasn't just a power move. It was a masterclass in psychological warfare. It solidified his image as a man of the people, not hungry for power, but serving a higher purpose. This, my friends, is next-level strategy. Caesar understood that true power isn't given, it's taken. And it's best taken when disguised as humility. He was playing the long game. And trust me, the universe always rewards a long-term strategy. But let's be clear, Caesar wasn't just playing coy. While he was busy refusing the crown, he was consolidating power behind the scenes, like a cosmic dance of celestial bodies. He was appointed dictator for life, a position that, while not a king in name, gave him the authority of one. He held on to his military command, controlling the mightiest legions Rome had ever seen. He influenced the Senate, appointed allies to key positions, and controlled the very flow of grain into the city. He was the puppet master, pulling the strings of Roman society, all while maintaining the illusion of a humble servant. This is a lesson we can all learn from. True power isn't about titles or labels, it's about influence. It's about the ability to shape events, to make things happen. And Caesar, he was a master architect of his own destiny. So, the next time you see someone obsessed with titles and outward displays of power, remember Caesar. Remember the man who understood that true power, like a black hole, is felt most strongly by those caught in its orbit. Now, imagine the Roman Senate, a room full of egos, each senator thinking they're the center of the universe. A recipe for disaster, right? And Caesar, he knew this. He understood that a divided enemy is an enemy you can conquer. He played them against each other, exploiting their ambitions and rivalries. He used their own greed and thirst for power against them, turning them into pawns in his own game. He was a conductor, orchestrating a symphony of chaos within the very heart of Roman power. This wasn't just clever politics. It was strategic genius. By dividing the elite, he neutralized their ability to challenge him. He was free to enact his own vision for Rome, a vision that resonated with the common people, the true source of lasting power. Remember, friends, the universe itself is governed by forces: gravity, electromagnetism, the strong and weak nuclear forces. And just like the universe, human society is governed by its own set of forces. Understand those forces, and you can bend them to your will. While the elite squabbled amongst themselves, Caesar focused on the people. He instituted reforms, provided land for veterans, and staged lavish games and spectacles. He understood the power of spectacle, of giving the people a good show. He presented himself as their champion, the one who understood their needs, their desires. He spoke directly to them, bypassing the traditional channels of the elite. He was a populist before the word even existed. This, my friends, is how you build a power base that lasts. It's not about brute force or intimidation. It's about winning hearts and minds. It's about giving people a reason to believe in you, to follow you. Caesar understood this instinctively. He knew that true power resides not in palaces or Senate chambers, but in the collective will of the people. And that, my friends, is a force more powerful than any supernova. So, what can we learn from this man, this Julius Caesar, who conquered not just nations, but the very fabric of Roman society? He teaches us that you don't need an army to control an empire, you need a strategy. Caesar's power play, what I like to call the crown without a throne, is about influence without authority. It's about winning the crowd before you need them, controlling your own story, taking power without asking for it, and turning every weakness into a weapon. Use this today. At work, rally the outsiders, write your own value, become indispensable. In business, give before you take, brand yourself as the people's champion. In life, control perception, and you control reality. If you want more strategies like this, subscribe now. We break down power, influence, and dominance daily. This was Julius Caesar's crown without a throne. Now go build your own empire.